So happy Elul. I hope you're having a good, meditative, contemplative month leading up to the high holidays. This is Rabbi Elaine Glickman, and as I am thinking about Elul, I am thinking about one of my favorite, one of the most meaningful elements of this month to me, and that is the sounding of the shofar. So I thought I would tell you a little bit about the shofar and about what it represents and why it's such an important distinctive reminder during this high holiday season. You can hear my dog barking in the background. He's, pretending to be the shofar, I guess. The shofar is actually one of the most ancient symbols in Judaism, according to our tradition. In fact, the ram that Abraham would sacrifice in place of his son Isaac, we're told, was created at twilight, just before the Sabbath day. There were 10 miraculous elements to creation, and these miracles were created, we are told, just before God rested on the Sabbath day. These things that had to be brought into being so that the world would function correctly. And we're told that that ram was created on the twilight just before the Sabbath, and that it existed just waiting in order to be sacrificed in Isaac's place on Mount Moriah. But what happened to that ram? We are told that one of its horns served as the shofar, that shofar was handed down for generations. And it was that shofar, we're told, that will be blown when the Messiah comes. Now, whether we believe in a traditional Messiah who will come and deliver and redeem our world, or whether we believe that it is our responsibility as God's children, as human beings, to perfect and to make better this world that we're living in, and to bring about this messianic time of peace and of justice, of compassion, of brotherhood, and of sisterhood. The idea that it is linked to the very fabric of creation, that just before God rested, God made sure to make this shofar come into being, the way that our redemption, the way that this era of goodness, of peace, of justice would be ushered in. That the idea that the perfection of this world was in God's mind as God created this world, and that before God rested, God gave us the symbol of this announcement that the world would be redeemed, that there will be a time of goodness, a time of justice, a time of peace, a time of kindness, that our labors will not be in vain, that our suffering will not be in vain. So as we look ahead to Rosh Hashanah, to the birthday of the world, let us imagine a day when this world will be perfected, when we will all be able to live in happiness and goodness and blessing and justice and peace. And let us renew ourselves once again to the task of creating that world, of making this world the way that God wants it to be, the way that each of us wants it to be, the way that is God prepared to rest on that first day of creation, the way that God imagined it would be one day. May it be God's will, a good Elul, a good new year. Shana Tova Umetucha.
Shalom, everyone. I'm Rabbi Audrey Karotkin from Temple Beth Israel in Altoona, Pennsylvania. I want to talk to you about a prayer for Yom Kippur, for the high holidays, that we don't know a lot about in Reform Judaism. It's called Tefillah Zakah, the prayer of worthiness. And in traditional prayer books, it appears right before Kol Nidre on the eve of Yom Kippur. We talk a lot at the high holidays about Cheshbon HaNefesh. In other words, we take a reckoning and accounting of our soul, of our spirit, to see where we are in terms of our relationship with God and other people. This I would call Cheshbon HaGuf. It asks us to take an accounting of every single part of our body from head to toe and how we have used or abused that part of our body, whether we've used it in service to God or not, whether we've used it for healing or for hurting. And it's really important to do that right before Kol Nidre, when we're audaciously asking God to, in advance, wipe away all of the promises and the vows that we've made if we've tried our best to do them and just can't fulfill it. Before we go to that step, we use tefillah zakah to think, well, did I really try my best? Where am I really in the way that I have used each part of my body? But I think that it's a really good way to assess ourselves, this cheshbon haguf, throughout Elul, because you can use it as a daily meditation, picking one part of the body every day and kind of assessing how you've done with it over the last year. Now, I've been studying tefillah zakah, and I actually did a translation in last year's Fall of 19 Reformed Jewish Quarterly. I want to give you a little bit of the language here. You have gifted me with a mind and a heart with which to form ideas, so that I might formulate good thoughts and kind intentions, a heart with which to understand your holy words, so that I might recite my prayers and blessings with purity of purpose. And yet I have defiled them with evil intentions and ignorant thoughts. You have gifted me with hands and the sense of touch, that I might engage in the performance of mitzvot. And yet I have defiled them through forbidden contact, striking with a vicious fist, and raising a hand to cause harm. You've gifted me with legs with which to walk the path of mitzvah, and yet I have defiled them, turning them into legs that hasten to cause trouble. Now, this is my translation of the traditional prayer, but think about it in your own lives. How have I used my brain to help people? How have I used my arms? Have I lifted people up? Have I brought them food or anything else that they might need in this time of need for so many people? Have I used my feet to turn away from people who could actually use my help? Something very simple like, do I use my brain to remember to put on my mask so that my mouth is covered, my nose is covered, so that I'm protecting people when I go out, and that I'm not using the excuse of, oh, I forgot to put it in the car. This goes to intentionality of how we use every part of our body. And you could take that and you could use it as a daily meditation, one part at a time throughout the month of Elul, so that when you come to the days of awe, you have a pretty good idea of how you've measured up in the last year and how you can go forward from there.